Most sales rep, they're stuck hitting below their quota, wondering what's wrong with them, while they're seeing some of the other reps at their company just crushing it month after month. And I didn't know what the difference was until I figured out exactly where I went wrong. And when I figured out what it was, and it wasn't sales techniques, it wasn't things, how much I was hustling, it wasn't all of these things that you're usually told. It was something much more simple than that. Once I figured that out, I went from being an average rep to being the top performer to having the highest close rate in the company. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can implement this yourself so you can do the exact same thing that I did. But before going so far, I want to exactly explain what happened, because I had this kind of wake-up call. And suddenly I was quite below my quota. I was at, estimated to be around 60%. And yeah, I was sad. Like you can see here in the picture, things were not good. Because, I had been doing well, and then suddenly my performance dipped and I weren't able to figure out why. So I kind of dove deep, and I went from 60% to 150% of my quota in a matter of a few weeks. And the things that changed was, as you can see here in the pictures, from a sad boy to a freaking dialed in, disciplined, focused on the goal, knowing exactly what he needs to do, when and where, and everything is just mapped out, like you're seeing in the Matrix. Like things are just coming together to kind of build a bigger picture of clarity. So this clarity, that's what I want to give you today. And what happened was I went deep. I figured out where I might be lacking, and the thing that I found by also investigating other top performers in other companies throughout history of tech sales is that it all comes down to habits. And I've kind of identified 7 specific daily habits that you can implement fairly easy into your day-to-day to get similar results. So jumping straight into it, there's 5 non-negotiables that you need to implement straight away. If you don't do this, your sales career is basically going to be freaking lost forever. You're not going to be doing the numbers you want. And this is what you need to start implementing in your sales routine, in your life, basically, to become the best. First up, we got exercise, we got planning ahead, we got knowledge consumption, data tracking, and reflection. I'm just going to dive on straight into it, because the first one is one of the habits that you can kind of call a keystone habit. There's a book on the power of habit, and this type of habit is something that trickles down into every other area. So exercise might not be a crazy secret, unique, revelating thing. But what is unique, or what you need to understand, is the importance of it. Because exercise is pretty much something that enables every other of your performance areas. So it enables you to get more energy. That's good for sales calls, that's good for prospecting. It gives you discipline, which is good for rejection. It's good for, just being disciplined enough to tackle the hard conversations. It's also something that gives you joy and meaning, and also, builds you up, because the more exercise you do, of course, the more or the better physique you get. So exercise is something that is critical to your sales performance and to your life overall. And if you just do this one thing 15 minutes a day, that's what I can do with 2 small children. That's something that's going to impact your performance in ways you couldn't even have imagined. And the energy thing is probably the biggest one for me. It gives me so much energy at the beginning of the day. I start out great, I have energy, and I get that rush from just doing the hard stuff, but also from if I'm running on a quick run, or if I'm doing some push-ups. It just gets me in that mental state that just I can freaking do anything, right? And then when you go into the office and you have the plan, which is the second one, then you know exactly what you need to do, and you're just going to do it with grit, with discipline. You're just going to crush it, right? So once you got the exercise locked down, one of the keystone habits. Then you also need a plan, a clear plan, because if you don't have a clear plan, your life and your work and everything you do throughout the day is just going to be chaos. You're just going to be living in this reactive state where things are getting thrown at you. You get distracted by emails coming in, Slack messages. Anything that can distract you will distract you if you don't plan ahead. And when I say planning ahead, what I mean is that every day you plan a day ahead. So in terms of when you can either do it when your work day is ending or before you go to bed, write down 30-minute intervals. What are you going to do from 6 a.m. to 6:30, so from 6:30 to 7, from 7 to 8, and so on and so forth. So you know exactly how your morning's going to look. That's also going to help you with the exercise. And of course, not just the morning, but do this from 6 till 11 or however long that you're awake. And then you can map out the important things. I personally also have 3 big tasks that I want to complete throughout the day. That isn't anything like admin related. It's like big impact project tasks. That's, as I talked about in a previous video. And if you do this, this is another one of these keystone habits where you can just see so much positive impact that it's going to have on everything else. Planning ahead also means that you kind of look at the longer, picture. Ideally, you'd start with, the 1-year goal you have or 5-year goal and like kind of reverse engineer back from that, and then go back from 1 year to what you're going to do each month. And each month, you're going to break that down to each week. And each week, you're going to break that down into daily tasks, which, of course, will set you up for success. But the most important thing, if you don't start with planning out far in the future, just plan out what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. However, I would recommend if you do want to accomplish big things in life with your career in sales, don't just plan day to day, plan week to week, month to month, set a yearly goal, and you kind of like figure out how to actually take steps every day so you're getting closer to whatever you want to accomplish. With planning ahead, the next exercise or habit is something that is called data tracking. And data tracking is what helped me go from actually 60% of my estimated quota or what I was projected to hit to actually flipping it around and suddenly overachieving and, hitting that nice number of 150 of my quota, getting that bigger paycheck. And how it actually revealed itself was because I was tracking all my numbers, I could go into it and I could see what was out of balance. What I figured was the number of prospecting activities I was doing each day, which meant my pipeline was drying out. And even though I felt busy because I was working deals, I was preparing pitch decks or demos or ROI proposals, it still had an impact on my new business coming in. So it was affecting my pipeline. So what I found through data tracking and tracking my calls and my demos and my everything in between, objections, everything, but especially the top of funnel activities, that led me to figure out where I needed to improve, which led to a huge increase in my performance because I was dialed in. I knew, okay, I got to just bump up the numbers, prospecting activities, and that led to, as you can hear, a pretty big and significant leap in performance. So data tracking, I have some sheets on this and I'm going to go in further detail, but for you watching this video right now, figure out what you can track. If you're doing the full sales cycle, you need to track all prospecting activity. Your show rate is also good, how many demos you're booking versus how many are showing. Of course, your close rate is good because then you can see which metric can benefit the most in terms of your performance from being improved. If you're solely doing account executive work, just doing the demos, then there's still a variety of metrics you can track. You can track of course, how many demos you're doing, the demo volume. You can track the objections you're facing the most often. You can track the average order value or client value. You can track kind of the length of the conversation. There's a number of different things that you can track, all with the focus of how to increase my performance by kind of narrowing down my focus on one metric, optimizing that, and then moving on to the next. So data tracking, super, super important. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything if you came to me with like asking for sales advice with your specific situation. I wouldn't be able to tell you what you're doing wrong if you didn't have any data. So start tracking. If you're interested, write a comment. I want that data tracking sheet that you got ready. I'll make a video on it and give you access so you can use mine, but it doesn't have to be fancy, just an Excel sheet with the dates and covering everything that I just mentioned in terms of the activities or the different metrics you can track. Next up, we got reflection. And without reflection, you're going to be rotting in, maybe not hell, but you're going to be rotting and digging your own grave, because you can't, grow if you're not reflecting and looking back on your performance. If you just have the data, what good is it if you don't reflect upon it and act upon it? If you just have the planning ahead, what does it matter if you're not looking whether or not you're completing the tasks? And of course, we need reflection. We need to look at the things we're doing, to learn from our mistakes, to grow. So reflection, it can be different ways you're doing it. One thing that's just super easy is at the end of the day, just write down your thoughts. How are you feeling? You're feeling pumped about anything? You're feeling a bit down, but don't really know why? Just write in a notepad and things will kind of come forward. Sometimes it's like a really nice and meditative experience, mindfulness, thinking about what's going on and covering what you need to do next. But also, if you want a bit more structured approach, you should just each week look at the different things that you've done, see what works, see what doesn't, refer to your data tracking and your plans, and then make your next week or your next month's action based on the reflections you have. So the fifth thing, and this also all ties in together, is the knowledge consumption. Because without knowledge, what are you? The only reason why you are in a position you are today, you have a sales role, or you're a business owner potentially selling some type of service at some point. And the only reason why you're qualified to do so is because you have the knowledge of previous experiences and things that you've consumed to be able to make decisions on what you need to do. And if you have some type of success, that knowledge that you've consumed is the reason for it, as well as your experiences. So if you're at this state today and you want to go here, what you need to do is consume knowledge, act on it, get experiences, and then continue to consume knowledge and act upon it until you solve the problems that is making that you're not here today and you're still at this point. Whether that's your close rate, whether that's your ability to tackle objections, whether that's the reason you're not hitting quota. This video, for example, is a piece of knowledge that you can use, and implementing all of these habits will benefit your career, your performance in one way or the other. And by making sure that you have the habit of consuming knowledge continuously, then you can progress and you can level up in life, which is, I'm guessing if you're on this channel, is something you want to do. So knowledge consumption is something you need to do daily, and it's not something that's, there's a reason that it's non-negotiable. The best people in any area of your life or in their career or personal, professional, whatever that might be, they focus on learning constantly. So if you see a sales rep that's extremely talented, this person is constantly making sure that they're on the top of their game, that they're learning new things, that they're making sure the old things that has worked, that they're still true to this date, and they're just not, doing the same thing over and over. So whatever way you consume knowledge, continue to do it. And if there's a way that you have not done, like sales courses or AI courses or reading books or listening to podcasts, make sure that you implement this. Just 30 minutes a day, could be on your commute, could be at the end of the day. Make sure you get that in, because the more you learn, of course, the more you earn as well. But the more you learn and the more passionate you become about something, the more fun it becomes. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy of I learn, I become better, it becomes more fun, and there's really no reason why you should neglect this habit. The only reason is discipline. Like it's hard to consume knowledge that requires you to think at the end of a tough day, But if you just get that as a habit, if you get this in as a non-negotiable, you will become the best in whatever you decide to pursue. And of course, if that's what you want, this is what you got to do. So now on to the optionals. These two are still critical in my opinion, but I don't want to overload you with information. And if there is things you need to implement from this video, it is these first 5 ones. I'd say exercise, planning ahead, and I can see this one is flipped on top here. So knowledge consumption, whatever you choose, but you need to implement these slowly in the beginning so you make sure they stick, and then you can have these which are optional but also really, really critical, like important or impactful. So with habit tracking, there's something nice in seeing that you're progressing. So let's say you start with exercise and planning ahead. These two you want to nail in the beginning. You want just to not overwhelm yourself, which is recommended, but you still want to nail it. And with habit tracking, it gives you a clear idea of your progress. So it's a similar sheet you create. You can have, there's apps for this as well, but then you just have the 2 habits or 3 habits you begin with, and then you track it in a sheet. And it is something that is really, really good to have, because then you hold yourself accountable. So you're not just starting something and quitting. Ideally, you'd also share this with somebody that you're starting this habit. You can maybe ask a colleague or a friend, like, do you want to also start every single day with a little bit of exercise, or do you want to experiment with planning ahead? If so, perfect, we're habit buddies, and you track together. The second one is, I can't really explain how impactful this can actually be if you get a good experience with it. But imagine if every experience or every moment in your life, you could feel joy and a presence unlike any other. That's what mindfulness and meditation can do to you. And focus and presence is extremely good if we think like sales contexts, but it's also really good if you have kids, for example, and you want to just close the thoughts of work and leave that for when you're actually working and focus on the present. So there's like this mind trick you can do where most people actually live either in, when they're just thinking, either in the future state, like what I want to do, what do I have to do at work tomorrow, or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or 12 months from now, where do I want to be? Or they think about the past and think about any mistakes they might have done or things that could have gone differently. And imagine if you're spending 80% either in the future or in the past, and you just sometimes spend it being present. The only time you can really enjoy is now. So I don't think I'm articulating this enough, but if you're not present in the moment and you're constantly either thinking about the future or the past, like what are you even doing? So going for a walk, looking at the leaves, how the light reflects in the sun, breathing in the air, focusing on just being present right in this moment, looking at your child, playing with a toy, seeing how they explore the world, taking a bite of your oatmeal in the morning, trying to just feel how that is an experience. I know this might seem a bit like off topic in terms of high performance and sales, but this is something that brings so much joy to my life when I focus on it. And if I don't focus on it, I just tend to either focus on the future or the past and forget to live in the moment, where the most beautiful things can just be a small thing that might seem random, like the shadow, how that looks from the plants coming in the sun. Yeah, I'm blabbing here at the end, but this is something that can really increase the satisfaction in your life and also help when listening and talking to colleagues or prospects. And it's just a really, really nice habit and thing to have in your life, meditation and mindfulness. So all of that said, here's the implementation. If you do this, I will promise you your life will be better in ways you can't imagine. And it all needs to start small, but I've still written the big 3 because you need the exercise and planning ahead, I'd say, and then choose the third one for yourself. And once you've kind of built that in, I'd say 30 to 60 days, just nailed it every single day and seen some of the results, then you can add more once the habits cement. And what I've written here as the third one is the keystone habits or the catalysts, which we haven't covered too much in this video, but it's essentially the one or two habits that can positively impact all other habits. So if we say it's exercise and planning ahead, these two, you need to identify them and nail them, because as soon as you stray off the path and see a dip in your performance, or you're maybe not doing everything that you know you can and know you want to, then remember the keystone habits, the catalysts, because if you just nail those one or two ones, let's say exercise and planning ahead, then all the other ones will be much easier to get back on track. So with that being said, this was Freddie Storm covering how to go from chaos to ultimate success in sales, in life. I don't want you to just sleep on this video. I want you to right now let me know which of the habits you're going to do, or just write it down and set up that from tomorrow you're going to exercise and plan ahead, and then just see where it leads to, because it's something that is necessary if you want success, and also you want sustainable, healthy life where you can be present and you can be happy and you can really just excel at the role you're in and the life trajectory that you are on. So with that being said, if you like this video, like it, write a comment on the habit you fear the most or you want to implement the most, and lastly, subscribe to this channel if you found it interesting. I'll keep you updated with more mind-bending videos that has to do with sales, optimizing your performance, designing the life you want, and potentially I'll sprinkle in some fatherhood tips along the way. Cheers.